Good morning, everybody. It's Steve Brown from Mirae Securities, Mirae Live. This morning we have a very distinguished guest, Mr. Jack Nguyen. Jack has been in Vietnam for over 12 years now. He's worked for the big four accountancy firms. He's also been one of the leaders of Vinny Capital's real estate fund, and he's now one of the partners for Mazars, one of the worldwide firms in auditing and also advisory. Jack's specialty today will be talking about the various corporate structures that are gaining a lot of interest in Vietnam at the moment, given there's a new private-public partnership law that got passed in the middle of last year. That's to help facilitate massive infrastructure investment upgrades into Vietnam in critical areas such as in railways, in airports, and also in energy. Jack will be talking about several examples of those, some in Ho Chi Minh City and some that are nationally domiciled. Jack, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Stephen, and thank you for Mirae for inviting me here to speak this afternoon.
Thank you very much. Now, if you'd like to just talk a little bit about the forms of doing business in Vietnam that you're a specialist in, and how Mazars can help with particularly foreign institutional investors looking at setting up in Vietnam or engaging with existing listed companies or government structures.
Yeah, sure. So there's a number of models that foreign companies can set up in Vietnam. The most popular way is to set up a 100% foreign-owned enterprise, where the foreign company can apply to get 100% foreign-owned. That it would usually take 4 to 6 weeks for them to get their business license. And then after that, they can start opening bank accounts, get ready to operate. And of course, they need to be compliant with Vietnamese regulations in terms of tax and accounting reporting. Mm-hmm. The second way is and some companies do this, is a joint venture with a local Vietnamese company. So it depends on the sector that they want to get in. Perhaps more of the difficult industry to go in as 100% foreign-owned, that they can settle for a joint venture where they can own anywhere up to 49% of the entity and operate in that way. A third way for foreign companies to come in, if they just want to test the market, if they just want to do distribution, but they really don't want to set up a sales team or generate revenue in the country, they can set up a rep office and start operating in Vietnam. And after a few years, if they feel confident enough, then they can transfer from the rep office into 100% foreign-owned companies. So those are some of the structures that foreign companies can open when they enter Vietnam.
Okay. Now, you've mentioned the rep office. Rep offices are quite a popular structure. They seem to be the one which is quite popular with the financial sector, asset managers in particular. The other entities that often look at those are engaging in the real estate scene as well. Would you care to now just talk us through where you've seen some of the companies with the passing of the PPP in the middle of last year, the structures that they prefer when they're engaging in trying to pitch for work? Is it through a JSC, a rep office, or how is it?
Yeah, well, PPP is peculiar because it's a model the government wants to promote to attract investments in a number of sectors. These are really high capital investments that the government's looking for private investors to come in. For PPP, the new law that came out effective January 1st this year, it was passed by the government Q3 last year. So within the PPP model, the companies can come in to do a build, operate, transfer, build, transfer, and operate, or just build, transfer. These are some of the models that private investors can use to invest in the PPP projects.
Okay. Yeah. Now, with the topic on most people's lips at the moment is some of the massive infrastructure upgrades that the country's looking at. The North-South Highway, the North-South Railway, and Long Tan Airport. So I'll pitch those three at you, and you can start with whichever one you feel like.
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously, infrastructure projects is one of the sectors that the government is really calling for private investors. The other four projects are in power plants, in water treatment, water solutions, in healthcare, and information technology. Vietnam in the past couple of years has entered into a number of multi-block free trade agreements, as well as bilateral trade agreements. So they're basically open for business for anyone and anybody who wants to come in and invest in Vietnam. By some account, they have more free trade agreements than any other country in the world. So what that means is that foreign investors want to come to Vietnam, but they need the infrastructure in order to be successful operating in Vietnam. They need the transport, they need the logistics, they need the roads to be new and wide, and with these big investments, PPP is being promoted to attract these private investors. You mentioned the highway that they're working on. There's a number of highways that the government are working on right now. One of them is the Trung Lương My Thung Highway in the Mekong Delta. There's also the North-South Highway with various sections of throughout the country that the government's calling in for PPP investments. There's talk about high-speed railway investment. That's it's a potential PPP project. Coincidentally, I'm from Canada, I live in Canada, and one of the biggest railway company in Canada is Canadian National, and they're looking to perhaps invest in that PPP project. Those are the numbers of projects that the government's looking to for investors. Okay.
Do you have a quantum of the financial amounts for where you think the project expenditure would be, either in total or in those three principal areas?
I don't know the exact figure on top of my head, but they can run into the hundreds of millions or even billion US dollar. Obviously, that's a lot of money, and investors need to have a long-term outlook on their investment in this country. One of the ways that they can recoup their investment is building these toll booths along the highways, and that could take years for them to recoup their investments. But it's been done before. There are a number of successful BOT projects that has used toll booths to recoup their investments, and after they've obviously with the BOT model, after they've made their investment back, then they transfer that to the government to operate.
Okay. One of those is the Filipino Ayala Corporation.
Yeah.
I think they're looking at through metro tollways, and then they're also looking at the potable water upgrade for Ho Chi Minh City in particular.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of experience in the Philippines with doing that.
That's right.
In energy, Jardines, through an FII investment partnership with RE, they're very active in the energy sphere and also in the water sphere nowadays. How have you seen your country folk in Canada go with Vietnam since you've been here the last 12 years?
Yeah. I mean, Canada. There's two areas that Canada can be should look at to invest in Vietnam. Obviously, one of them is the railway that I mentioned before with Canadian National. They can provide help with the railway infrastructure. Second industry is the renewable energy and solar energy. Canada has a lot of experience with that, with solar, with wind power. So that's an area that Canada, could potentially look at to invest in Vietnam.
Okay, very good. Now, just lastly, there's a few projects in Tu Tiem that were related to land use rights, transfers in exchange for doing some bridges and so on. Do you have any comments to make on how you think the progress is going on those, because from my understanding it was like a couple of years ago there was a bit of an audit that took place. I think most of the audits have been done. Work has restarted on quite a few of the condominium projects that were being able to be realized on receipt of the land for doing, say, roads there or bridges there. Much professional comment in your circles about how 2TM is developing in general?
Yeah, I mean, just from a visual point of view, I go through 2TM every morning on my way to work. You know, obviously it's developing very fast. There's a lot of condos popping up along the Mai Chi Tho highway. You know, I think the government has big plans for the 2TM area. A lot of them are, that area is sometimes called District 1A, or the new CBD of Ho Chi Minh City. You know, I know there's been some delay in clearance, in getting the legal aspects correct, but I think that's proceeding along. And you know, I'm sure once that's done, once that's completed, then you know, there'll be more building of condos and office buildings in that area. Okay,
and to wrap things up in aviation, Airport Corporation of Vietnam, it's listed now, and the airport at Long Tan is starting to get a go ahead this year. They're looking at around about 2026 for that to become operable. And then also the existing Tan Son Nhat airport is getting an upgrade. Do you see any possibilities for more foreign engagement with the airports of Vietnam?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously building airport, especially the size of the Long Tan airport, you know, you would need foreign expertise in building airports and its supporting infrastructures. So there's definitely opportunities there for companies in the aviation industry. Happy to see Long Tan Airport's finally getting launched after more than 20 years of discussion. You know, the traffic, whether it's passenger or cargo, going in and out of Vietnam has increased many times over the past decade or so. So the new airport will relieve some of those pressure. Tan Son Nhat is building a third terminal. So, I mean, there's bound to be a lot of technical projects that are available and that's available for foreign investors to participate in.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Jack. We look forward to having a further chat with you down the line on Mirae Asset Live, and I'm sure that many of our foreign institutional clients appreciate your expertise, and we look forward to speaking to you in future. Mirae Asset Live, Steve Brown with Mr. Jack Nguyen, partner of Mazars. Thank you.
Thank you.